As you settle in for the night, let your thoughts begin to soften. Let go of the day's tasks, the choices waiting to be made, the what-ifs and should-haves. For now, there's nowhere to be but here, drifting slowly through the hidden landscapes of your own mind. Together, we'll explore the quiet nature of overthinking and why your endlessly busy thoughts are not always a sign of insight, but a subtle signal that your mind is simply trying to feel safe. You've likely been there before, lying in bed, eyes closed, yet your thoughts refuse to rest. One idea loops endlessly. A conversation replayed, a choice dissected, a future rehearsed. This is the mind in overdrive, believing it's solving when really it's spinning. Overthinking, in its essence, is a survival strategy gone rogue. Your brain is built to scan for threats, replay past mistakes, and simulate future outcomes, not to torture you, but to protect you. But unlike our ancestors, who used this mental scanning to detect real dangers, like rustling in the brush or changing skies, we now turn this powerful cognitive tool inward. And without a clear endpoint, the mind begins to circle itself. We call it rumination, from the Latin word for chewing over and over again. And it can feel almost productive. So, if we think just a little longer, we'll finally solve something. But instead of clarity, we get decision fatigue, mental fog, emotional exhaustion. We get stuck in what psychologists call cognitive distortions, invisible tricks of thought, like catastrophizing, black and white thinking, or imagining that others are judging us constantly. Your brain is not broken. It's just tired and trying too hard to keep you safe. We often imagine that deep thinking and intelligence are gateways to calm and certainty. But history tells a different story. A story of some of the sharpest minds wrestling with the sharpest doubts. A story of a brilliant physicist who was also known to be deeply affected by mental loops. A man who dedicated his life to unraveling the mysteries of the universe, but who himself felt lost in the vast expanse of his own thoughts. Yes, I'm talking about Albert Einstein. Beyond his groundbreaking work in physics, Einstein was known to engage in certain behaviors compulsively, like washing his hands many times a day or arranging his belongings in specific orders. These actions were not just habits. They were rituals that provided him with a sense of comfort and control in an increasingly complex world. He was brilliant. His mind was a powerhouse of creativity and innovation. But brilliance did not protect him from the discomfort of his own mind. He experienced moments of self-doubt, of questioning his abilities and his decisions. And these doubts didn't disappear with time. They persisted, sometimes overwhelming him. Some modern psychologists even speculate that Einstein showed signs of obsessive-compulsive tendencies. The famous physicist was not just a genius. He was also human, capable of experiencing the same struggles with anxiety and uncertainty that all of us do. And he's not alone. Countless great thinkers, writers, scientists, artists have described minds that work constantly, endlessly churning out ideas, thoughts, possibilities, but not always peacefully. Minds that are prone to overthinking, to imagining worst-case scenarios, to getting lost in a labyrinth of their own making. It's a paradox, isn't it? The more you know, the more you realize how much you don't know. The more you think you can solve the world's problems, the more problems you imagine. The complexity of intellect doesn't always equal emotional clarity. Sometimes, the deeper the mind thinks, the more it tangles itself. In fact, research shows a link between high intelligence and anxiety. Perhaps because the more possibilities your brain can imagine, the more it worries what might go wrong. So, if your mind is always busy, always questioning, always imagining, if you find yourself lost in the labyrinth of your own thoughts, know that you're not broken. You're not defective. You're not alone. It just means your brain really cares. It's a brilliant mind, trying to make sense of the world and its complexities, just like the great Albert Einstein. Sometimes the voice that overthinks isn't thinking at all. It's remembering, not a moment, but a feeling. You may have grown up in environments where perfection was praised, where safety came from being prepared, or where mistakes were quietly punished. In those early years, the mind learned a secret. If I worry enough, maybe I can prevent the pain. The brain stores this lesson not as a sentence, but as a tendency, a lean toward vigilance, a reflex to review. Over time, this becomes automatic. Your mind begins to question every compliment, rehearse every message, doubt every silence. You don't do this because you're unsure of reality. You do it because some part of you is unsure of peace. Unconsciously, overthinking feels safer than stillness. But here's what neuroscience offers as comfort. Even the most embedded thought loops can change. The brain, in its quiet resilience, is constantly rewiring. Even now, as you listen, as your breath slows, you are reshaping that loop. The mind you carry today is thousands of years old, built for a world of flickering firelight, rustling trees, and a few close faces. And yet, here it is, living in a storm of endless information. Your ancestors thought in rhythm with nature. Dawn, dusk, weather, hunger. Decisions were simpler. Fewer, slower, quieter. Today, we are faced with thousands of micro-decisions before noon. What to wear, what to say, how to reply, which path to take, which version of ourselves to present. We scroll, we scan, we absorb, endlessly comparing, evaluating, consuming. The modern mind isn't failing. It's overloaded. Overthinking isn't your fault. It's your mind doing its best in an environment it was never designed for. And yet, we can adapt. By letting thoughts pass like clouds. By remembering that not every thought needs an answer. Not every problem needs solving at night. And now, as your mind begins to soften, remember, the thoughts that visit you are not commands. They're not prophecies. They're simply habits of a mind that wants to help. You are allowed to let go, to not solve, to not figure it out tonight. Overthinking isn't wisdom. It's your brain trying to protect you. A little too much. And even now, even in rest, your marvelous, imperfect mind is still learning, still adapting, still quietly finding its way. Just like all of ours, sleep well. We'll wander again soon.